Yeah, some people are just like, they've developed that kind of lifestyle where they, you know what I mean, it works for them.
Yeah.
Like for me, like after that, I was just like, fuck, like.
You wrecked for a couple of days.
But what I did, I should do this more often. I don't really do this enough. Sometimes I'd just be a sad sack and just kind of sweat it out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yesterday I was like, oh fuck this, I've got to MC a gig, and MCing a gig is different to 5 obviously.
Yeah.
It needs some energy. So I just went to the gym and I just hopped on it was horrible, but I hopped on the bike for about
to actually like
90
sweat
minutes,
yeah.
just 90 minutes sweating it out. When I got to the gig I didn't feel amazing, but I felt pretty good.
Like better than you fucking would
I felt
have.
quite energetic, so I was like, oh, I actually don't feel too bad.
I think that's it, like getting yourself out of the house.
Yeah, it's the hardest.
You know, like when you're in that, it's like pushing yourself. Like I know I feel like shit, but if I force myself to fucking do this, then it'll be all right. By the way, welcome to Mainly Stories. I've got a good friend of mine, very funny comedian, all the way from New Zealand, lives in Melbourne now. Dan Brader, thanks for being on the podcast.
How's it going?
So yeah, how have you been doing comedy a while, eh?
Yeah, like I started in 07.
Yeah.
Had a few bunch of gaps and things like that.
Yeah.
Like 07.
And that was mostly in Wellington?
No, in Perth. Yeah, Perth.
You started in Perth? I didn't know you started in Perth.
So I was working at a radio station writing ads.
Yeah.
And this mate of mine like...
No wonder why you're such a marketing god when it comes to the events business, mate.
Not. But like, no, there was like an ad. This was like, you know, back then when a lot of ads were, even though they were on the internet, a lot of them were also in hard copy. And we saw like an ad in like one of those street mags, raw comedy, blah, blah, blah. He knew all about it because he was an Aussie, but I didn't know much about it. Entered that, I think we got to like the wild card round. So, you know, you get past the first round, did okay, got some okay feedback from people, started doing a little circuit around there, and that's how I sort of got started.
Well, it's because the scene in Perth, I got a mate, Ash Chapman, who's, I don't know if you know.
Heard the name, but I don't think I met him. Yeah,
met him in the Gold Coast, and he's over in Perth right now. It seems like the comedy club over there, it's like a fucking sick shout.
Yeah, there's loads more going on there. I think it's one of those places, like I've lived there twice.
Yeah.
And
in Perth twice?
Yeah, so the first time I was there was when I was new, so everything was new to me. But that was like 07 through to like 08, 09 kind of time.
Yeah.
And that was like, I don't know, maybe like there was 4 regular gigs.
Yeah, okay.
And every now and again there might be the odd other one. But like 4 consistent gigs. And
sort of like open mic-ish gigs or like next step up
so
kind of deal?
The open mics back then were real different. So what it was so you'd have like, this is a good example, there was like a show on a Wednesday, right? And the open mic section there, which really had to make you earn it, was on after the pros. So the whole show's done, then the MC comes on and goes, hey guys, if you want to stick around, we've got an open mic section of promising newbies and stuff.
Fuck, that's throwing like new comics into the deep end, dude.
So sometimes, because the vibe was so good and they loved the headliner and they loved the night, you could kind of ride that little wave, and obviously, you know, they weren't expecting to be as good. But then other times, you know, even if the headliner and that had done quite well, the crowd had kind of laughed out and they'd had enough.
Yeah, well, like if you've had like an hour and a half show.
Yeah.
I've been to like some really good comedians. Like fucking like, I think it was Theo Von I went to, and he had 3 openers, and so the show was like 3 hours long.
Yeah, it's a long night.
And by the end of it, I was like, I just want to like go have a beer somewhere, get some food. Like it's like the comedy's great, but it's just like sitting in one seat.
It's fatigue, yeah. Like even you go to like a music festival, like I went to one on the weekend. Yeah. And like, you know.
Yeah, which one was that? That looked fucking
Good
sick.
Things.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
And you got like all these great bands and stuff, but it's, you know, like it's a long day. You know, like, and same with, you know, like 3-hour Theo Von shows and stuff. So like, I feel like in some ways, like, going on towards the end can be really difficult.
Particularly, I can't imagine if you're like a first-time open micer, and then like, you know, like someone like even a year or 2 in is just crushed for 45 minutes. Yeah. And they're like, good luck. Like, fun.
Sometimes too, like this doesn't happen now, which is a good thing. Is back then, like a lot of the times the MCs, it's usually some kind of gnarly older dude and stuff. Yeah. And they would almost try and make it harder for you to earn your stripes. It was that kind of tough love thing.
I've had a few in a couple of different open mics that like have told me, oh yeah, I heckle the open micers. because it builds tougher skin. It's like
it's pretty rank.
It's already scary to like if you're a month in, 2 months in, you've got like the owner of the fucking room being like, you suck.
Yeah, you don't want that. These MCs, this is what a lot of them would do. They would go, all right, guys, you've seen the main show. How good was that? You can go home now if you want. Gonna have a break, and then we're gonna come back with some newbies. Most of them will be shit, but you never know. Someone might be all right. You don't have to stay. And like really downsold it.
Setting them up for fail. It's
it was. I don't know why they did that. And then 90% of the time they'd do that, a lot of people would leave, but every now and again you'd get like a friendlier guy or girl emceeing, and they wouldn't do that, which is the way better approach. They'd be like, hey, how good was that? Guess what? We've got some newbies trying it out. If you want to watch them after the break, how good would that be? Blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then obviously more people would stick around, but
for sure.
When you had the tough love MC, to be fair, what they were trying to do, even though it's a bit rough, is when you did come back, because it was harder, if you killed, you really impressed them.
So it was like, it's sort of that like stepping stone onto the next. I think it's such a fine line, hey, like, because I fucking hate emceeing. I find it I don't hate it, but I find it's tougher.
It's
kind
hard.
of thing, and you don't want to like hype people up too much. You don't want to like have too. It's a real middle ground you want to find.
I think you can always. I mean, if you're going to do one or the other, just say everybody's funny, like that's safe.
Yeah.
Rather than, temper. Sometimes you get the MCs and they'll do this one, it's the worst. They go, oh, no, about this stage, I've never seen them before.
I don't fucking know, we're going to find out together, like blah, blah, blah.
That's unnecessary when they do that,
I had a mate of mine, a good friend, Jacob Frisky, who's been on the podcast before. Very funny comedy. He's going to come down and do our festival lineup show
cool.
for a night. Dark Times, Dark Comedy, coming soon. It's going to be great. But he has like a huge beard. And the guy was like, everybody, clap your hands together, but not too loud for Jihadi Jacob. And he's a white guy. And it's like, and he's did it every time. And I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, this is fucking. I don't know what. And he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say after that. And he was only probably a month or two in, and he's like, why is this guy calling me a jihadi?
It's
fucking
a risk.
It's wild. But so you've been running Blowout for how long now?
So I didn't used to call it that. It just didn't have a name. But I always look at it as like the first time around a gig. And that was like 08, 09
Sick.
In Melbourne at Dirty Secrets.
Oh, yeah. You're the originator.
Yeah, well, I think no, because that venue's been around for ages, so there's always been somebody running something. But I ran it like every Wednesday, I think, for a couple of years.
Sick.
And then I handed over to some
And being a room runner
stuff.
is a thankless job.
Pretty much, but I mean, there's good sides to it too. You obviously you're in touch with all the different comics, and then they'll give you gigs at their gigs.
For sure.
You get to see who's developing and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think it's mostly positive, but it can be thankless too. A lot of last minute dropouts.
Oh yeah, and we've all done that as well.
Yeah, of course.
Like there's been a few people I've seen literally run. I had one in particular at my room up in Queensland who did 25. And
wow! And
I'm like sitting there. I almost like I need a god mic to get the fuck off the stage.
I've seen people actually not physically pull, but like go on stage and tap the shoulder, and because you do get some of them they've been drinking, or they're just really feeling themselves, or they're just.
And like if they're running hot, it's like okay, maybe go to like 10, but like if you're bombing for 20 minutes, it's fucking rough, man.
Oh, going back to that thing I was telling you about Perth. Yeah. So eventually when I was there, they got like a proper do whatever you want, open mic type gig. And because like the scene was kind of structured like I told you, you had all these guys and girls who were like pros, and they only did pro gigs. Yeah. They weren't doing, because they did that little one that I was telling you before, and then all they did was pro stuff. Anyway, when they first got on at this new open mic, they were so used to doing long sets. They didn't mean to, but they were doing like 15s.
And they're just sitting there, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry, did I run the line?"
They didn't realize they'd gone that long. Yeah.
5, like for people who don't do comedy, 5 sounds like a long time. Yeah. But it actually, it's like on stage, it's like 2 or 3 jokes, and you're like, oh, that was 5 minutes. Like,
you're done. Whoops. Yeah. And if you're like those, those guys are really good, they can spend like a minute to 2 minutes just kind of fluffing with the crowd and just before they've really done.
Or even like on a setup kind of thing.
Yeah, with lots of little jokes sprinkled in and stuff. But no, that was interesting.
Yeah, and so the move from, was it Perth straight to Melbourne, or was it back to NZ?
Yeah, so like I've had a bit of a weird trajectory. That one was like, so I was in Perth, then I moved to Melbourne, had a girlfriend there. Yeah. Did it over here for like about 2 and a bit years. Broke up with her, it's a whole story. Yeah. Went to New Zealand, then came back to Perth, back to New Zealand, and now back to Melbourne. So I've been around a bit.
Just fucking travelling. And you reckon Melbourne's where you sort of like put down roots?
I always wanted to come back here, just it's too long to get into. But like, no, I'm quite keen to stick around. Yeah, for sure.
I think like for comedy, it's hard pressed to find a place that's better, I think.
It's always pros and cons with everywhere, but it's pretty good here. There's loads of gigs.
Seems like there's a lot of gigs dying off these days, though. There's been a few that dropped off. Like
that happens, though. Then other ones replace it, and it's cyclical. It's
I've seen a few new ones, like that Uncorked one that's coming up. In Murrumbina, that looks good. And I guess you're figuring out who fucking runs them and what kind of crowds they want and stuff like that. Like,
sometimes new ones pop up, and I'm about all the time, and you don't even know, you've never heard of the person. Yeah. And then it can, which is, I don't really have an issue with it or whatever. And it can be someone who's done like 2 gigs and they want to run a gig. And that, to me, I don't care. That's fine. Like, run a gig, it's all good. There used to be, that's the other thing that's changed. When I was newish and stuff, there used to be this real kind of thing where people would police who ran the gigs. And they'd
really?
What are you doing running a gig? We've got too many gigs as it is, and you've only done a few gigs. And
what? So they'd get mad if you were like a newbie.
Yeah, like that was in not so much here, a little bit, but not that much. Yeah. But more so in Perth and in places in New Zealand.
But I suppose in like smaller scenes, I guess they're like. Because I came
very like a famine mentality or whatever. Like in the small scenes, they're like, we can only have 3 gigs, and you're going to ruin my gig. And
or like you're putting on a gig the same night as mine, and therefore we're in direct competition.
That's why I like it here, because you can. I don't think anyone would do that now because there's just so many gigs, and it's a free for all.
Well, that was like when I started. Like I didn't even think of that. Like when I started comedy, I did probably a month down here. Everyone was super chill. Yeah. And then went up to Queensland. Couldn't really get spots. So I was like, fuck it, well, I'll just create my own room.
Yeah,
to do a spot.
I think that's fine. Yeah.
But like, I didn't realize the politics of different scenes, and I was like, oh, everyone's just doing comedy. We're all mates, and it's actually quite like. Secular, and people have their friendship groups.
There's all that stuff, Like I feel like, got a bit older now, and like I wish, the old wish I knew what I know now back then. You're better off to just not care about all that stuff, because it's just, you're never going to please everybody, and there's always people who think that this is how comedy is and this is how it should be. But if you're a nice guy, which you are, and you get on with everybody, and
he's only saying that because we're on camera. I'm a terrible human being.
I can vouch that. Good guy. No, but if you get on with everybody and you don't cause a drama or whatever, people will like see that and they'll be cool with it. You're always going to get someone who doesn't like you, but it's just bite your tongue and move on, because there's always little cliques and dramas and
for sure
and stuff.
And it's interesting as well seeing different like rooms of old, like Comedy in the Cellar, that was a sign up, and then now it's a book show, and then like that show that we're running on Thursdays, which is kind of like a hybrid show of music and podcast.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's interesting, like fucking how different things change in the scene as well. And it seems like
sign-ups are new too. Like Old Man River here, but like back when I used to do them or whatever, like when I was brand new, it was like it wasn't really such a thing as a sign up. It was just like even the open mics were booked, the dirtiest open mics. It was like you message the guy or the girl, they give you the spot, you turn up, and it was sort of even rare for someone to just turn up and try and get on.
Really?
Would happen every now and again, but it was usually special, like
if you were a big sort
or a bit of a big dog, and but it didn't happen that much. But I think the culture now has become real hustle, do as many gigs as you can.
Oh, for
which
sure.
is way better. I love that. Yeah. So now it's become real common to try and fit all these comics. Whereas back then there wasn't that many comics. So you were more struggling to kind of
to like fill the spots kind of thing. Yeah.
Whereas now it's the opposite. Like if you put a call out for spots at any gig and you wanted 10 comics, you'd get 30
people. Yeah. I feel like that ebbs and flows as well. Because in Queensland, there was a period probably for most of November where all of a sudden, like I'd usually have 14 per week at least, sort of signed up for fives. And then there was like a few weeks where I could only get like 5 or 6 people interested. I was like, I don't know where everyone's going, whether people dropping out, whether there's not like newer blood coming in, I don't know. Like,
I think it's a weird, but that'll happen here too. It's just, sometimes it can be things like weather and, like when the festivals coming up and stuff.
Yeah, like people have had a big weekend and like the weather's been great, so everyone's hungover or whatever. Like
sometimes people just have these little hibernation periods, which is all good, go away and ride or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh man, the festival's coming up, and then all of a sudden everyone wants a spot.
Yeah, for sure. Like I would imagine next year, because I was only around for 1 week of the festival towards the end last year, and obviously we're running our show for the first week, but I would imagine that the whole scene sort of just like ramps up massively.
Yeah, just like everyone wants to get on during festival time. And it's the same with the comps and stuff too. It's just like, everyone wants to do Raw because they get to play to a big crowd. There's a chance of getting on TV and all that stuff. So
well, I wasn't going to do it, and then I was talking to Cam Muratori. He was like, fucking do it. Like, who cares? You've done it, why not do a spot in front of 80 people?
No, why were you not going to do it?
I was like, I don't want to like waste my 3 times or whatever. And I think my comedy's probably too dirty.
Because you get 3 goes.
Then I met a guy.
How many have you done? Have you done
just one?
One. So do it again. Then you've got one more next year. And if you don't want to do it next year, you could wait the year after.
Well, I met a dude, and I'm not going to name names because he might get in trouble. But he did it 8 times, just under different names in different cities.
I feel like it's one of those ones. It's like they don't. You know what I mean? I don't know that much about it, but I don't feel like it's aggressively policed. If you won and
if you were like on TV and then you come in like under a different name with a wig, they might fucking.
But I think if you're just floating around doing all the mics and stuff and you do it 4 times, no one's going to care too much.
For sure.
Same with the money side of it. I've met the odd comic and they'll be like, no, I can't do it because I've earned over the amount of money, and then you talk to them and like. They've earned like maybe $20 over the amount, and like it's not like anyone knows.
No one's gonna go like show us your tax return.
It's just like I'm not saying break all the rules, but I'm saying they're pretty loose rules.
They're more guidelines, strong guidelines.
It's not getting your passport. It's like it's just a fucking comedy gig,
for sure.
But some people are like that. They're just like real tindick when it comes to rules.
For sure. And speaking of like book gigs, so you were the one who put me onto Crowd Pleaser, which is like an open source kind of like booking platform. Tell us about the gigs you got into that.
So this is a thing where you put yourself on there and they take 10% and you can get all kinds of stuff.
Have you done that cricket club one yet?
No, I've got that on Saturday, so that'll be interesting. I've done a cricket club once before, but this is an all-ladies cricket club.
So just doing your misogynist material as soon as you get there, that's the plan? Or?
Hey girls, you all look like 6s and 4s, but that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. We're cricket. That's good.
Talking about your batting, not your looks. But like, I've sort of done it in a weird way. Like one time I did a gig in Brunswick one night, and the whole crowd was like a ladies cricket team. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe they remember me from that. But that was ages ago, so it would be a huge gap.
Like it would be like pretty specific if they found.
Or maybe my face jogged their memory. Who knows or whatever. Like probably not. Probably they just saw I was cheap and clicked this guy.
But do you get a fair few gigs on there?
I've got like a few so far. Not like smashing my door down, but I've like maybe like 1 or 2 each month or something like that. So
because I've had a few. I had a quote recently, and it was like, "Come to a wedding and MC it."
I think that's the one that I ended up doing.
This one was yesterday.
Oh, another one,
And I was like, I just don't know how, because I haven't done it before. Like, do I rock up and like be a comedian, or if they want me to be an MC, am I literally just sit down, do the speeches, fucking, blah blah blah.
I feel like I've only done it a couple of times, but like one was with a friend, so that's different. The one I did last weekend or the weekend before, so you get the sense when you get there, and I know, they could all be different, but I've heard stories from other comics. They really just want like an MC.
Yeah.
Because you've got all these, the family members, and they're not natural public speakers a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They just want the crowd to kind of, to be paying attention and to be primed.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be like...
You don't have to do like material.
Yeah, I mean, I did like, probably like kind of like emceeing an open mic. I did like 5 to 10, maybe 10 minutes or something. And I just did like, they sent me an email and they just said, hey, here's some stuff about the bride and the groom.
Yeah.
You can do some jokes about this. And I just did that, and and I was
it fun, or?
I thought it was real fun, but I was real cautious because like, it's someone's special day.
Yeah.
And like,
you don't want to like bomb as MC.
No, hell no. And then also they're giving you info, and obviously they want to be roasted a little bit. But, you can't go too hard. So
a comic's threshold gentle. Of what, like, you roasting me or me roasting you is different
so
than
high, So all the jokes I did were pretty gentle, and then towards the end, this was as hard as I got, but this is pretty gentle, I reckon. They'd put that the groom was into Magic the Gathering, and so I was like, oh, this should be okay, because it does kind of big him up as well. I said, like, oh, the groom, he's like, he plays Magic the Gathering. I go, he's got to be the first guy that I've ever met who plays Magic the Gathering who's ever seen a woman in the nude,
Yeah, that's a very placid joke.
And then like, just, I didn't want to go hard. And then like, and I go, oh, and who wouldn't want to see the lovely bride in the nude? That kind of thing, ha ha ha. Because I could
you could feel that was
okay.
alright.
Yeah.
But that's probably as big a swing as you would take.
Yeah, so I just did stuff like that. And then, it's pretty cheesy, but like, because he's playing Magic the Gathering or whatever, and hasn't he gathered all his magic to meet her? That kind of heartwarming shit.
Yeah.
But then as the night went on, you've got the sense of it, plus they're drinking and stuff, and you're in between the acts. Then they got me to do trivia. By that point or whatever, they trust you, they like you, you've chatted to them at the dinner table and that. Yeah. By that point, you can kind of, get a little bit cheekier. So I got cheekier as the night went on, and I even slipped in like a couple of racy bits of material that kind of fit within the trivia, like they related to the topic. Yeah. But by that point, it was fine, but like... But you got to feel it out. But I kind of figured I'd be okay also because the bride's sister did a speech, and she
was it a clanger?
It was wild. She told a story about her and the bride when they were young having like a full-on brawl at the train station.
Oh my god!
So I was like, oh, okay.
So like these
must be a pretty cool crowd then.
Yeah, sure. That just reminds me. When I was a DJ, me and a friend did like all these. I think we did like, I want to say 50 parties in a year.
Awesome. Yeah.
And you'd hear just like the best and the worst of like speeches.
Yeah.
And we had this one chick whose best mate was like, we all remember when she went to commerce camp in university and broke out her box of 100 condoms. And her dad's just like, oh my God. And then we were all kind of laughing. And she was like, 7 of those broke on that camp. So I actually had to go and get plan B afterwards. Which is like, you're in front of your dad. Like, what do you do? And the dad's sitting there. And it was like a pajama themed party. He's in like some bullshit like Christmas get up.
But it's so funny, that kind of stuff though, because it's like, some families that humour's all good, and everyone's laughing and it's great, and then others it's clearly not.
So we've heard some terrible ones where and then when it goes bad and the family gets real upset, I think it's hilarious. But
same.
If you're getting paid maybe to like do a gig, it might be a little rough.
Yeah, I was just pretty cautious until once I knew where the line was and they were all good. So no, it was real fun.
For sure.
I got another one coming up in February, so fingers crossed. Because I know that's the type of gig where I might have, been a little bit lucky there, but I know there might be some where they are, even though they're looking for a comedian, they want it very
like sort of like an MC that can be a little bit like tongue-in-cheek sometimes, rather than someone that's going to get up there and
be a bit cheeky or something. But
have you done any like proper corporate stuff? Like
sort of, but they're like kind of weird ones. So I've done like it's like a transport company, but that was sort of an inn. Like one of the girls who worked there, she used to come to this comedy gig and
so she already sort of had some.
So she'd see me a bunch, and one of her friends from the company had seen me a couple of times. So I kind of was pre-approved. Yeah. And that one too, she just said, oh hey, look, I'm pretty much the boss, there's one other guy or whatever, and like we just do the stuff that you normally do.
Just like do your bits.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
So I just did, and I didn't even see it. I just like closed it, so that was fine. And then I've done like some other funny things, like I did an engineering. That's a good story actually. I won't go into too much detail in terms of names, but I did a
name the company and then
I did a corporate thing for an engineering company in New Zealand, and this is like a real horror show story. So we were travelling from one part of New Zealand to another on the South Island, and it was like quite a long bus ride. Right. And on the bus, the fucking tyre went out, right? And so we stopped, and the guy had to change the tyre. It was a whole thing. And then like we got traffic on the way. And anyway, long story short, we basically got there late. And not only that, but two of the comedians who live locally pulled out at the last minute.
Oh no!
So all of a sudden, it was supposed to be like 4 of us doing an hour and a half or whatever, and then it was down to 2 of us.
So 45 each, all of us.
Pretty much, and one other guy who was brand new, but we roped him in to just do 5. Yeah. And it was also like almost a sneaky corporate gig because it was like a regular bar that we did gigs at. And then the guy was like, oh, hey, we're going to change it and you don't have to sell tickets. I've sold it out. Yeah. And I go, oh, how's that? And he goes, oh, well, it's going to be this engineering firm's Christmas party gig. And he goes, so you'll get the money from the tickets and, you know, if they're happy with it, you might get a bit extra and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Anyway.
On paper, it sounds great.
Sounds awesome. So we get there and we're late and there's already a bit of tension in the air. And we didn't know that this, until we got there obviously, that this engineering firm had been there since lunch.
Oh, so they already like had a gut full of booze.
They were fucked. Like, I went to go into the toilet in the urinal and this guy's like pissing all over his shoes. And he's talking to a mate who's in the stall and he's got the door open and they're just chatting away. It was just like mayhem. Yeah. But sometimes you get those, you know, those really drunk crowds and you sort of, I mean, I better with it now, it was a while ago, you kind of think, oh yeah, they'll be real up for sort of bit of banter and bit of crude jokes, but sometimes when people are drunk, and you've seen it, they're on a knife's edge of wanting to fight someone over nothing. Oh yeah, you can definitely cross that line, as you've seen photos of my face. Yeah. When you sort of push them over the knives. You've been hit, so... Yeah. And you don't have the sort of, I mean, I don't get it perfect now obviously either, but like, you know, it's hard, but you just don't have that sense then. Anyway, like, so we put the new guy on first, and he's brand new, and he's just doing all this, you know, sometimes you get new comics and everything they talk about sex and stuff. Yeah. And he was just going on about midget clown porn and all this random stuff, and it was just... The greatest hits. Just shocking, but not very clever, just stuff, and he bombed, and not only did he bomb, but like, you know, like he was pretty nervous because there was a crowd of about 100 and someone like threw an ice cube at him and... Oh shit, so he's like really had an absolute like, oh shit. And he's freaking out. Then I was hosting it or whatever. I did it right at the start, all things considered, because I had to, it was hard even just getting to sit down and to quiet down or whatever. Yeah. And then my mate comes on and they just didn't like him either. They started actually throwing paper darts at him. Oh no! And booing, and you know, like one guy went up and like tapped the microphone whilst he's talking into it. That sounds heavy, man. It was pretty full. And so, how did you manage to pull him back? You know, I got back on, and I'm sort of de facto MC, so I've got to do material. Anyway, like I came back and like I got a bit of a roll on, and things are going quite well. And it's been a little bit cheeky, but the line was quite good. And then there was. I told some story, and like, you know, they're all comedy, they're all self-deprecating stories. I told some story about like, I don't know, I forgot now, but it was like a story about, you know, a failure with a woman or something. Yeah. And this guy kind of... which there aren't many in your past, because you're a lady killer, you know. So it was one of them stories, and the guy in the front row or something, he was really trash, and he obviously misheard it or something. And he goes, oh no, what are you on about? Right, like, you're a bet you wouldn't be any good with women. Like, my mate Billy there, he's like been with all the chicks in town and all that stuff. And then I go, and I wouldn't do this now, but you know, I was a bit younger and stuff. I thought it was funny. It is a cheap gag, I know. And then I go, man, he's that drunk. You know, he's this drunk now. I go, the only chance he's got is with that old lady in the back in a wheelchair, because she thinks it's still 1955. You know, blah blah blah. Some kind of
You've
rant
taken
like
a swing,
Took a big swing, and like sometimes you say that sort of stuff, and obviously it can pop, or other times it didn't.
When it falls flat, and then you're like, no one likes me anymore.
Yeah, they just went. I was going real well, and then I did that, and then and this is a small town or whatever, and then they all went quiet, and I was just like, just joking around trying to ease attention.
You're like, guys, I was just being a funny guy.
Guess what? It gets worse. And the guy was just like, fucking, do you know who that is? That's his grandma, you fucking
Oh, no.
And then I thought, I can win it back with another edgy one.
Yeah, you're going to I'm going to do an incest joke.
Yes, you got it, And I go, you all fuck each other in this town anyway. And I go,
how'd that go?
And then the guy that I'd said it to and his mate came on stage or whatever, like fully, and I had the mic stand, and I was like trying to hold them off, and the security came and pushed them away, and then I'm like going towards the bar because because the guy had told us he had the cash. I just want to get the cash and get out of there.
Yeah, grab and go.
And the fucking guy who ran the venue, I know that's obviously not what he wanted, but you've still done your gig. You can't.
Yeah, you can't be like, you annoyed the people.
$0. Yeah. So I went up to the bar and I go, oh fuck, sorry about that. I go I apologise. I go, I didn't think that was going to happen. And some people have never seen comedy before, and it's his bar and stuff, and they don't know that sometimes things can go wrong, and obviously that's as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, we'll just get our money and we'll go, I'm sorry. Yeah. And he goes, oh, you're not getting paid for that.
And like, what the fuck do you mean? We just worked in stand-up for like an hour and a half.
I go, we've come ages for this gig, it's a 4-hour bus ride. I go, you told me you were going to do the tickets instead of me, and you just give me the money or whatever. I go, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
I go, and he goes, what if they ask for their money back? And I go, no, they're not. And I go, even if they ask, say no. They've seen the comedy show. It's just...
But they might not have liked the comedy.
Yeah.
You can't go to the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And then fucking be like, you know what? Lion King sucks. Give me my money.
So then, and he did that this real Kiwi thing, real passive aggressive thing where he just kept going, oh, all right, I'll get it in a minute. And he was just doing it hoping that I would leave.
Yeah, like farting around so he thinks that you'd walk off.
And then some other mate, the newbie had head for the hills because he had just had such a bad day.
He was like, they threw an ice cube at me, I need to run.
He just bailed because he lived there. And then my other mate or whatever, the paper planes, he stuck around, he needed his money. And then some mates of mine turned up because they wanted to watch the show, but they got there a bit late and they all turned up. So now we've got a little group of us at the bar. And then the guy was just like, oh, you're not going to leave, are you? And I go, oh, I just want that or whatever. And then the money for blah, blah, blah. And then eventually he comes back behind the bar and he gives me the envelope or whatever. And he's like, all right, off you go, whatever. I open the envelope and it's about a third of what...
No way, dude.
I go, come on or whatever. You can't do that. Anyway, long story short or whatever, eventually, I got 75% of the money or whatever, but it's such a nightmare.
It's such one of those businesses, Harry Wheeler. You can go
he would have crushed that night in terms of how much money he made.
Oh, and even if they were mad about
drink and
exactly, they're still spending cash.
And they were at that level of drunk where you knew that I think
someone would have had a fight about something.
Yeah, and it was I don't think there was going to be anything that would have happened other than I don't like that guy, and off I went, and then they'd move on and chat about something else. But there was not a vibe in the room of they were going to want our money back. They seemed pretty well to do, and it was fucking $10 a ticket or something. And it's just come on,
So I take it you didn't run any more shows with that guy again afterwards?
No. Oh, I'll tell you this. Actually, there's an end note to this that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So after that gig, we all went back to. My dad had a little house, a little flat in this town, and he would stay there for work, and then he'd go and stay with my mum on the weekend, kind of transitioning into retirement. Anyway, so he was away, obviously. We went back there, me and my mates and stuff, and we raided my dad's liquor cabinet pretty bad. Anyway, drank all that and stuff, and then one of them had the bright idea of, why don't we go to where that business is and give them a bit of revenge. Obviously, their office is closed and that stuff. And
has the statute of limitations passed on this?
Oh, I don't want to say it because it's a small enough town that you know the place and could get back to me. So anyway, we go, I don't know what we were thinking, but we went down there or whatever, and I'm like, what are we going to do? I go, I'm not going to like smash up their business. And he goes, no, just like something funny or whatever. And then he realised they had like a letter flap, you know, when you put the letters in. And he opened the, you know where this is going, opened the letter flap and he starts pissing on through the carpet or whatever.
I thought it was either that or he's going to take a shit and then put it in the letter.
He tried to do the second one, and you know when you're drunk and it was going,
somebody help me.
And it wouldn't come out, and I go, don't do that. I go, the piss is fine, whatever. And then I had to go, and the other of us, I had to go. Even like, this is the kind of people I hang out with. Even the girl had to go. Like, not much of it went through, but like you got the odd few stray drops.
That's fucking awesome.
Of lady juice in there, but yeah, how wild was that? And then my mate, you think like, you know, they wouldn't have even known. Carpet would have dried out, or like I didn't want to like be associated.
You don't want to
with
start a beef with this company and they actually get in trouble.
And guess what he did? If I didn't see it till the other guys told me about it and confirmed it, he got the poster from the gig. And he wrote, I hope you enjoy our wee press.
Oh my God.
Thanks to the gig. And then threw that in there. I'm like, oh, you dickhead.
Oh,
like,
man, that's fucking awesome.
Nothing ever happened though. Like I gigged back there like other times and like nothing happened. But I was always like,
yeah, in the back of your head, you're like, is someone going to fucking be like, you pissed it out at him.
Punch me in the back of the head or something.
Oh, fucking hell.
That was the gnarliest one though. Yeah.
That sounds like a gnarly one. So have you got a few big gigs coming up? Or we've got Blowout on Friday?
Just usuals, yeah. Just the standard kind
and then warming up into our comedy festival lineup show, which should be a lot of fun.
We've got like a all dark comedy night and stuff. It's funny with the dark nights or whatever, because you're like, you got to prep your jokes, and I've always got, you know, a fair bit of that here and there, but it's quite hard because you got to trial it, and every now and again you're doing like, you know what Melbourne's like, there's like nice little inner city bars and everyone's quite polite and you know, a bit gentle and stuff, and you're like, man, I've got to try these dark jokes somewhere.
You've got to try some fucked up jokes.
Yeah, and some nights or whatever, like, you're going along real good because you're doing your sort of stuff that you feel will go with that room, and then I've got them now, I'll get away with a cheeky one, and like they still won't.
It dies. But then I've had one. Remember, I had that joke about Hitler that I did at Craftsman's, and it was a breakup for a women's football team in Brunswick, which is a super left-leaning work area, and I'm like, they're going to get really mad, but I have to do it. And they loved it. They're like, that was so funny. I loved it. So it can be really hit or miss.
You don't know, it's a weird one. Sometimes it's less like the joke itself than it is the topic. So it's just sometimes you can throw the C-bomb around with abandon or whatever. That seems to be totally fine. Here in New Zealand's the same too. But it's like, like pedophilia is a really hard thing to do material about. Like rape, obviously. Anything to do with like
race jokes, always
gender stuff. All that stuff is really hard. But if you've got like a really good joke and it's not mean spirited, it's just cheeky, then you can get away with anything.
I think it's just like making it funny. Hey?
It's funny, and then just getting that right bit of charm and confidence.
And like I remember, I've told this story on the pod before. It's like choosing the right time to do it. Like I used to open with my darkest stuff, and then a comic was like, they don't trust you enough yet.
You got to
you got to earn that good faith kind of thing.
That being said, though, that's totally the rule of thumb, and 100% agree with that. Every now and again, I've had some of my best sets, but it is such a fucking risk when I've just kind of come out there and I've just hit them with something risky. But usually it's a risky joke I've done a bunch of times before.
But
it's got a good rhythm.
work,
I'm confident in it. It's still a risk though, that it's, you don't have to.
And there's nothing worse than falling flat on a super risky joke at the start of the set. And you're like, oh, well, the next 5-10 minutes is going to be. I
mean, if you stay composed, you can kind of win. You can obviously win them back, but you start immediately on the back foot. But it is annoying because I think the biggest thing with comedy is like if you like that type of jokes, and you're into that, the kind of fluffing them and